My phone rang. It was her teacher. She said the words I'd been dreading, bruises. My heart stopped. My hands shook. I spilled some coffee on the counter, barely noticing. Bruises on my little niece. I ran out the door, my chest tight. Every step felt heavy, every breath short. When I arrived, the teacher met me at the door. Her eyes were worried. She leaned closer. "We thought you should know first," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I followed her to the side, and there she was. My niece, sitting small at her desk, backpack sagging, hands clenched. She didn't look at me at first. I knelt beside her. "Hey, sweetie, can I sit with you?" Her eyes flicked up wide, scared, then quickly looked away. The teacher handed me a notebook. Faint blue marks ran along her arms, a few darker near her shoulders. I swallowed hard. "Oh, baby," I whispered. I reached for her hand. She flinched and pulled back. I stopped. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just want you safe." She nodded slightly, a tiny breath escaping her lips. The teacher stepped back, giving us space. I whispered, "It's okay. You don't have to say anything. I just need you to know you're safe now." I asked softly, "Did someone hurt you at home?" She shook her head slightly. Her lips trembled. I knew there was more. My chest tightened. I had to protect her carefully without scaring her further. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I jumped. My heart raced. A message from her mom, still unanswered. I could feel panic rising. I couldn't wait. I had to see her safely home. When I saw her small figure leaving school, I ran to her side. "Hey, let's walk together," I said softly. She hesitated, then fell in step. Every glance over her shoulder, every twitch of her hands made my stomach ache. At home, I led her to the living room. "Sit here for a minute," I said gently. She curled slightly against me. I whispered, "I'm here. No one will hurt you while I'm around." She let out a tiny sigh, a whisper of relief. But I didn't know what else she had been through. Or who else knew. I didn't know if anyone else would step in, but I would fight for her no matter what. I watched her closely as we walked home. Her small steps were careful, almost too quiet. Her backpack bounced, but not naturally, like she was holding herself back from falling apart. I tried to keep my voice gentle. "Want to tell me about your day?" She shook her head, eyes on the ground. A car honked nearby, and she jumped. I reached for her hand, just brushing it. She flinched slightly, then squeezed back almost imperceptibly. My chest tightened. Every little reaction told me she was scared, and it broke something inside me, at the corner of the street. She slowed, glancing behind her like she expected someone. I felt a chill. "Nobody's behind us," I whispered, keeping my voice calm. But inside, I was furious that anyone had ever made her feel like this. We reached her house. The front door creaked open before I could knock. She hesitated, frozen on the porch. I bent down, trying to meet her eyes. "Hey, it's just us for now. Let's go inside." She nodded, almost imperceptibly, and followed. Inside, the living room felt too quiet, too empty. She sank into the couch corner, clutching a small stuffed toy as if it were a shield. I sat beside her, careful not to crowd. "Do you want water?" She shook her head. Her eyes flicked toward the hallway, then back at me. Every glance, every tiny movement screamed caution. I tried to make it casual. "You had a long day," I said softly. She nodded. I reached for her hand again, brushing it gently. She didn't pull away this time, just held it loosely. I could feel her little tremble. Then a sudden knock at the front door made her jump. My heart skipped a beat. I went to peek, but nobody was there. The silence afterward was almost louder than the knock itself. She clutched the toy tighter. I whispered, "It's okay. You're safe." She exhaled just a tiny sigh, but it was something. I noticed her arms still faintly marked. Some bruises were fading, but others were darker, angry looking. My stomach churned. I wanted to ask, wanted to know, but I also didn't want to push her. I just sat with her, letting her know I was there. The phone buzzed again. I didn't look. I didn't need another call from her mom with excuses or delays. This was about her, only her. I leaned closer. You can tell me anything or nothing at all. I'm not going anywhere, she blinked. Small tears gathering in her eyes. A quiet moment passed. Then she whispered almost to herself, I didn't want anyone to know. I nodded, holding back my own tears. I know, sweetheart. But now I do. And I'm here, always. Even in that quiet room, I could feel the tension in her body, the weight of secrets she had been carrying alone. And I realized this wasn't just a one-day worry. This was going to be a long fight. One I wasn't afraid to face. I didn't know what the night would bring, or if anyone else would see what I saw. But one thing was Sir Tony wouldn't let her face it alone. Not now, not ever. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to see her arms, really see them. My niece sat curled on the couch, hugging her toy like it could shield her from the world. I took a deep breath. Sweetie, can I look at your arms for a second? She froze. Her little eyes went wide like she expected the worst. I held up my hands, palms open. I just want to make sure you're okay. That's all. She hesitated. Then slowly, almost painfully slow, she lifted her sleeves. I froze. There were bruises I hadn't noticed before. Small purples, faint blues, some darker, angry-looking blotches. My chest felt heavy, like someone had stacked bricks on it. I swallowed hard. Oh, baby, I whispered. My voice shook. She flinched at my tone, eyes darting to mine. I'm not mad, I said quickly. I just need to know you're safe. Her fingers trembled as she pulled her sleeves down a little. I reached for her hand gently. She flinched, then didn't pull away this time. A sudden sound outside made her jerk. The wind rattled the window. Her little gasp made me flinch too. I whispered, It's okay. It's just the wind. She exhaled slowly, finally relaxing a fraction. Her small voice came, almost a whisper I didn't want anyone to see. My heart broke. I know, sweetheart, but I'm here. You don't have to hide from me. We sat there in silence for a moment. I traced a loose finger along her hand. My mind raced. How long had she been hiding this? Who else knew? Could anyone else see the fear in her eyes like I did? I asked softly, Did someone hurt you at home? She looked down at her toy, silent. My chest tightened. I could see the fear, the caution, the little tremble in her shoulders. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to wrap her in my arms and run far away from anything that could hurt her. Then her phone buzzed. She jumped violently. I held her hand tighter, whispering, I'm here. Nobody will touch you while I'm around. She nodded, just slightly, but I could see the relief flicker in her eyes. I had to be careful. Too much pressure and she'd retreat again. Too little and I might miss something important. I leaned close and whispered, You can tell me a little, or just sit with me. Whatever feels safe. Her small voice cracked. I didn't mean for it to happen. My chest hurt, like someone had slammed it with a hammer. I held her closer, whispering again, It's not your fault. It's not ever. I promise. Even in that quiet room, the tension lingered, thick like fog. I knew this was just the start. I didn't know if anyone else would see the bruises, the fear. But I would. I would fight for her, always. I stayed close, keeping my voice soft. Do you want to tell me what happened? She hugged her toy tighter. Her eyes darted to the corner of the room, then back at me. I don't know, she whispered. My chest tightened. That small voice held so much fear. I leaned a little closer. It's okay if you don't know. I just want to make sure you're safe. Can you show me what scares you? She shook her head slightly. I nodded. You don't have to show me anything yet. Just sit with me. A car door slammed outside. She flinched, pulling her knees closer to her chest. I whispered, It's okay, sweetie. Nobody's coming in. Not right now. She exhaled slowly, tiny relief in her sigh. I asked again, gently, Did something happen at home today? Her hands twisted in her lap. Her eyes filled with tears she didn't let fall. I didn't mean to, she whispered. My heart lurched. That voice. So small, so scared. I reached out slowly, letting her see my hands were empty. It's not your fault, I promise. Not ever. She looked up briefly, almost searching for proof. I nodded softly. I'm here. I won't let anyone hurt you. Another small noise of floorboard creaked. She jumped, gasping. I held her hand gently. See? Just us. You're safe now, she squeezed back. Tiny, fragile trust. I stayed with her, letting the silence stretch. No pressure, no rush. Just me, her, quiet room, the soft hum of the day outside. Little by little, she relaxed. Just a fraction, but enough to know she felt safe at least for a moment. I whispered again. Whenever you're ready, you can tell me more. Or nothing at all. I'll wait. Always. She nodded slightly, tiny tears rolling down her cheeks. My chest ached with sorrow, anger, determination all at once. I didn't know how deep the fear went or who else knew what she endured. But I knew one thing: I wasn't leaving her side. Not now, not ever. I tried calling her mom again. No answer. My stomach twisted. Why wasn't she picking up? I left a message, voice trembling just a little, asking if everything was okay. Silence. That silence made my chest ache more than the bruises ever could. I looked at my niece. She sat curled on the couch, hugging her toy. Her eyes flicked to the phone every time it buzzed. I whispered softly, "It's okay, sweetie. I'm here. Nobody's leaving you alone." She gave a tiny nod, barely perceptible, but it was something. The house was too quiet. Too still. I felt anger bubbling under my ribs. How could her mother not be here? How could anyone ignore what I could clearly see? I took a deep breath and knelt beside her. "We're going to figure this out together," I said. My voice was calm, but my heart thundered. She looked at me, hesitant. Will she come home? I swallowed hard. I don't know right now, but I do know I'm not going anywhere. Her little fingers twitched in mine. I held them tightly. I could feel the tension in her body, every tremble, every quiet heartbeat of fear. A sudden thump upstairs made her jump. I froze for a second, too. "It's okay," I whispered. Just the house settling. Her breath came fast for a moment, then slowed. I realized just how on edge she was. Every sound could be a threat in her mind. I paced the room slowly, careful not to crowd her. My mind raced. What else had she been hiding? How long had the bruises been there? Could anyone else see the fear in her eyes like I did? I didn't know, and that uncertainty gnawed at me. I tried again to reach her mother, leaving another message. Still nothing? My frustration flared, but I swallowed it. I couldn't let it show. My niece needed me strong. She needed a safe place right now, not more worry. I sat back down beside her. "You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. I just need you to know I've got you," I whispered. She let out a tiny sigh, almost a whisper of relief. I felt a flicker of hope. Small, fragile, but real. I didn't know when her mother would show up, or if she would. That question hung in the air unanswered, but I knew one thing. I would fight for my niece, no matter what. I would not let her feel alone, not ever. After I finally got her settled, I sat on the couch across from her, watching every tiny movement. Her little fingers twisted and untwisted her toy, eyes darting to every corner of the room. I thought about all the mornings I had watched her skip down the street, laughing and chattering. That same little girl now seemed like a shadow of herself, fragile and quiet. I remembered the first time I held her in my arms. She was so tiny, so full of life. Her giggles had filled the room like sunlight. And now, seeing those bruises, I felt a punch to my chest, like someone had stolen that light. I tried to keep my voice calm. "You don't have to talk yet, sweetheart. Just sit here. Breathe with me." She lifted her head slightly, then looked away again. Every small flicker of eye contact felt like a victory. A sudden knock at the front door made her flinch violently. I instinctively reached for her hand, holding it tight. "It's okay," I whispered. "Nobody's coming in. Just us." She exhaled slowly, letting herself relax a fraction. I thought about how long she must have carried this alone. Every day, going to school, pretending everything was fine. Her little shoulders must have been heavy with fear. I felt tears prick my eyes, but I blinked them away. I had to stay strong for her. Her small voice came barely above a whisper. I didn't want anyone to see. My chest tightened. I leaned closer. I know, sweetheart. But I see you, and I'm not going anywhere. She let herself rest against me, a little, tiny relief in her posture. The phone buzzed again. I ignored it, focusing entirely on her. The quiet tension between us was heavy, but I could feel small threads of trust forming. She was letting me in slowly. I thought about what would happen next. How we would protect her. How I could make sure she never felt this fear again. The uncertainty gnawed at me. Could I do enough? Would anyone else notice what was happening? My hands clenched in my lap, but I forced my breathing steady. I had to focus on keeping her safe in this moment. She finally spoke again. Tiny words, almost broken. I just wanted to stop. I nodded, hugging her gently. I promise, it will. I'm not leaving you alone. Even in that quiet room, I could feel the tension lingering. The bruises, the fear, the unanswered questions, all of it hung like shadows. But I also felt a spark of hope, fragile and small, that together we could face whatever came next. I tried calling her mother again, and again. Each time it went straight to voicemail. My chest tightened with frustration. Why wasn't she answering? Didn't she care? I left another message, voice calm but firm, explaining what I had seen. What I feared. Silence. My niece sat on the couch beside me, hugging her toy like it could shield her from the world. Her little eyes kept flicking to the phone every time it buzzed. I whispered softly, "It's okay, sweetie. I've got you." She nodded slightly, tiny relief in her eyes. I thought about all the excuses I'd heard before. The times warnings were ignored. My jaw tightened. I couldn't rely on anyone else. I had to protect her. Right now, I paced the living room slowly, careful not to crowd her. "Do you want to tell me anything else?" I asked softly. She shook her head, small trembles running through her hands. I reached for her hand gently. "That's okay. I just want you to know I'm here, always." Another sudden knock at the door made her jump. Her little gasp made my stomach flip. I leaned closer, whispering, "It's just us. Nobody's coming in right now." She exhaled slowly, releasing some of the tension in her body. I sat back down and tried. Her mother one more time. Nothing. My frustration simmered, but I forced myself to stay calm. I couldn't let my anger show. My niece needed me strong, steady, safe. I couldn't let her feel any more fear than she already had. She whispered almost to herself, "Why doesn't she care?" My chest ached. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, holding her close. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I do care, and I'm not leaving you alone." The quiet stretched between us, heavy with tension. The unanswered calls, the bruises, the fear all weighed down on me. But I knew one thing for certain. No matter what, I would protect her. I would be the one she could count on. Even if her mother refused to act, even if no one else noticed, I would fight for her. Every step, every moment, always. I watched her closely the next morning. Her small body moved carefully, almost like she was trying to make herself invisible. She kept her head down, hugging that toy tightly. Every step she took felt heavy, cautious, like she was walking through shadows I couldn't see. I asked softly, "Do you want breakfast?" She shook her head, barely looking at me. Her hands trembled as she reached for her backpack. I could feel her tension radiating from her, small but constant. A sudden crash from the kitchen made her jump violently. She yelped, clutching the toy to her chest. I rushed to her side. "It's okay. It's just the cupboard," I whispered. She exhaled slowly, but I could see the tight coil of fear in her shoulders. Her eyes darted constantly to the hallway, her movements jerky. It was subtle, almost easy to miss, but I saw it. Every glance, every small flinch, every twitch of her fingers, it told me she was afraid of something beyond the bruises. Something more. I knelt down, holding her hands gently. Sweetheart, you don't have to tell me yet. But if something scares you, you can show me or tell me. I'm not going anywhere. She nodded faintly, just barely. And I could feel her tiny fingers relax a fraction. I thought about how long this had been happening. How many times she must have hidden in her room holding her little body tight to stop the shaking. How many times she had whispered, "I'm fine," when she wasn't. My chest ached. Heavy and raw. Another sound, a squeak from upstairs, made her flinch again. I pulled her closer, whispering, "It's just us. Nobody's coming in. You're safe here." She leaned slightly against me, fragile trust slowly forming. Her little voice came trembling. I don't want anyone to get in trouble." My throat tightened. "You're not causing this, sweetie. Not ever. I just need to make sure you're safe." She nodded, tiny tears rolling down her cheeks. Even in the quiet of the morning, the tension lingered. I didn't know what else I would find or who else might be involved. But I knew one thing: I wouldn't let her face it alone. Not now, not ever. I knew I had to document what I saw. I didn't want to wait another minute. I gently asked her, "Sweetheart, can I take a look at your arms again?" She hesitated, eyes flicking to the corner of the room, then slowly lifted her sleeves. The bruises were worse than I thought. Some faded, but others were darker, angry purple splotches. My stomach twisted. I quickly grabbed my phone, careful not to scare her. "I just want to make sure we have a record." "That's all," I whispered. She nodded slightly, her fingers twitching. I took pictures, steady hands, but a heart hammering in my chest. Each photo felt like proof that someone had hurt her, that I couldn't ignore what was happening. She watched me silently, hugging her toy tightly, little sighs escaping between small breaths. I knew I had to act, but carefully. "We're going to figure this out," I said softly. "I'm not going to let anyone hurt you again." Her eyes flicked up at me. Tiny spark of trust mingled with fear. I thought about calling her mother again, but my gut told me she might still avoid it. I needed someone who would act, someone who could help my niece immediately if things got worse. I took another deep breath and considered the next steps carefully. A sudden knock at the door made her jump. I grabbed her hand, holding it gently. "It's okay. It's just the house. Nobody's coming in." She exhaled slowly, trusting me a little more. I whispered to her, "If anyone asks, you don't have to say anything yet. Just know I'm here, always." Her lips trembled, tiny tears forming, but she didn't pull away. That fragile connection meant everything. I sat back thinking about the fight ahead. How would I confront her mother? Would authorities take it seriously? Could anyone else see the fear and pain in her eyes like I did? I didn't know. But one thing was clear: I would fight for her. Even with uncertainty stretching ahead, with unanswered questions and unknown dangers, I knew I had to act now. I had to be the person who kept her safe, no matter what it cost.
I finally decided it was time. I had to call her mother again. My hands shook slightly as I dialed. The phone rang once, twice, then she answered. Her voice was casual, almost careless. "Hey, what's up?" she said. My chest tightened. I took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. "We need to talk. About the bruises. I saw them myself. Your daughter? She needs help." There was a pause on the other end, then a small, nervous laugh. "Bruises? Are you sure you're not overreacting?" My stomach sank. "No," I said firmly. "I am not overreacting. She's scared and she's hurt. I'm telling you this because I care about her. She needs someone to protect her." I could hear her shifting, maybe realizing I wasn't going to back down. She said nothing for a moment. Then finally, I'll be home soon." That wasn't good enough. My chest ached with frustration. I could feel the fear in my niece, the fear I already carried for her. I whispered to my niece, "I'll handle this. You stay here safe." She nodded faintly, clutching her toy. Her trust in me was fragile, but real, and I couldn't let it break. I hung up and paced the room, thinking fast. If her mother didn't act, I needed to make sure someone would. The bruises, The fear. They were evidence. I could reach out to school officials, maybe even the authorities. I wasn't going to wait for excuses anymore. A sudden sound from the hallway made my niece flinch. I rushed to her side. "It's okay," I whispered. I peeked. 2 school officials stood there, faces serious but calm. "We're here to help," one said. I knelt beside her. "See? You're safe. Nobody's leaving you alone." She hesitated, then slowly got up, trusting me enough to step toward them. Every small movement she made, every inch of trust she gave, felt monumental. Even in that moment of action, I could feel the weight of uncertainty lingering. Would her mother cooperate? Would anyone else notice what I saw? Could this finally change things for her? I didn't know. But I did know one thing. I wasn't going to let her face it alone. Not now, not ever. And I would fight every step of the way, no matter how hard it got. The school officials guided us to a quiet room. My niece's small fingers clutched her toy tightly, her eyes darting to every corner. I knelt beside her, whispering softly, "It's okay, just us for now. You're safe." She nodded slightly, a fragile spark of trust forming. One of the officials asked her gently, "Can you tell us what happened?" She hesitated, eyes wide with fear. I held her hand. "You don't have to say everything yet," I whispered. "Just enough to help you." Her tiny voice trembled. I didn't want anyone to see." I squeezed her hand gently. "It's okay, you're not alone now." Her lips quivered as tears slid down her cheeks. The official nodded, taking notes quietly, not pushing, just listening. Every word she whispered felt monumental, every small sentence of victory against the fear that had weighed on her for so long. A sudden phone buzz from my pocket made her jump. I quickly silenced it and whispered, "It's okay. Nobody's coming to hurt you." She exhaled slowly, letting herself relax fractionally. As the questioning continued, she began to reveal little things, fragments, tiny pieces of the truth. Each one was shocking, heartbreaking, but also necessary. Every time she spoke, my chest tightened, my heart ached, but I felt hope growing in small increments. I kept my hand on hers, letting her know I was there, that she didn't have to face this alone. She glanced at me once, eyes flickering with trust. I smiled softly. "You're doing so well," I whispered. She exhaled again, relief mingling with fear. After what felt like hours, they finally concluded the initial investigation. The officials reassured me they would act immediately to ensure her safety. My niece looked exhausted, but there was a subtle shift in her posture, a little less tension in her shoulders, a sign that maybe she felt safer. Even as we left the school, I could feel the lingering fear in her movements, the cautious glances, the little hesitations. But I also saw tiny sparks of courage, moments of trust, proof that she was beginning to feel protected. I knew this was just the start. The fight wasn't over. But for the first time in a long time, I could see a glimmer of hope, and that was enough to keep moving forward, to stay strong for her, to fight for her no matter what lay ahead. When we got home, I knew it was time. I had the bruises documented, the school officials aware, and a plan to protect her. My niece clutched her toy, eyes wide. "I'll stay with you," I whispered. She nodded slightly, a fragile trust flickering. I called her mother again. This time, I didn't ask, I told. "We need to talk immediately. I've seen the bruises. The school knows. I'm not letting anyone ignore this. You need to come home now." My voice was firm, steady. No room for excuses. There was silence on the other end. Then a quiet, hesitant, I'll be there. My chest tightened, but I didn't relax. This could be a trick, a delay. I had to be ready. I knelt beside my niece. "Whatever happens, I'm right here. You're safe." She hugged me tightly, tiny trembles running through her. "I don't want her to be mad," she whispered. I shook my head gently. No one's mad at you. We're here to keep you safe, always." When her mother finally arrived, she looked nervous, eyes shifting, hands twisting. I met her gaze firmly. "I've called the school. I've called authorities. Your daughter needs protection. This is non-negotiable." She swallowed hard, words faltering. My niece clung to me as her mother approached. I held her a little closer, whispering, "You're okay. Just breathe. I'm not letting anyone hurt you again." Her small nod gave me courage. I showed her mother the photos, the messages, the official documentation. Her face went pale, a mixture of guilt, fear, and realization. I didn't soften my tone. "This is real. Your child is scared. You need to step up, or someone else will ensure she's safe." My niece peeked from behind me, tiny eyes scanning her mother. I could feel her fear, but also a growing awareness. Someone was finally taking action. I whispered softly, "You're not alone. Not anymore." Even as her mother promised compliance, I knew this wasn't the end. Trust had to be rebuilt, protection ensured, and vigilance maintained. But for the first time, my niece had an ally who wouldn't back down, and that small glimmer of safety was worth every ounce of struggle. After her mother left, I stayed close to my niece. She clutched her toy, eyes wide, small trembles running through her. "It's okay," I whispered. "You're safe. Nobody's leaving you alone now." She leaned slightly into me, fragile trust slowly forming. I thought about the next steps. The bruises, the fear, the silence. Everything needed careful handling. I spoke softly. "We're going to take it one step at a time. You don't have to rush. You don't have to explain everything right now." Her tiny nod told me she understood, and maybe felt a little relief. I helped her settle in the living room, soft blanket around her shoulders. The house felt heavy with tension, but also a new sense of vigilance. Every sound, every shadow would now be met with protection, not fear. We talked quietly about small, safe routines. "If something scares you, you tell me immediately. You don't have to hide anymore." She whispered, almost a secret, "I didn't know anyone would help me." My heart ached. "You're never alone now," I said. Another knock at the door startled her. I moved immediately to shield her, whispering, "It's okay, sweetie, just us right now." It was only the school official dropping by to follow up. Even small reassurances like this helped her feel safer. Tiny victories against the fear she'd carried for so long. We made plans for therapy, for regular check-ins, for small steps toward rebuilding her trust in the world. Every little decision was about restoring a sense of security she hadn't felt in months, maybe years. As night fell, I stayed beside her. I could feel her relax fractionally, tiny sighs of relief escaping as she leaned into the blanket. "I'll stay right here. Nothing will hurt you. I promise." Even with the tension still lingering, even with uncertainty about the future, I knew this was the first moment she truly felt safe. And that small spark of security was everything. I wouldn't let anyone extinguish it. Not now. Not ever. The next morning, a social worker arrived. My niece clutched her toy tightly, eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and fear. I knelt beside her, whispering, "It's okay. Just us for now. You're safe." She exhaled slowly, tiny trust flickering in her gaze. The social worker smiled gently, speaking softly, "We're here to make sure you're safe. You don't have to answer everything today." That small reassurance made a difference. My niece's shoulders relaxed fractionally, tiny relief in the way she leaned toward me. We went through the bruises again, carefully, documenting, making sure every mark was accounted for. I held her hand through it all, whispering, "You're doing so well. I'm right here. Nobody will hurt you." Each tiny acknowledgement built trust. Each small gesture a step toward healing. Afterwards, we talked quietly about safe spaces, safe adults, and routines she could follow when she felt scared. Her little nods, hesitant but real, made my chest ache with pride. For the first time, she seemed to believe she could be protected. A sudden noise outside made her flinch. I moved instantly to her side. "It's okay, sweetie. Just a bird outside, nothing else." She exhaled slowly, letting herself relax again. Small moments like this became milestones in her recovery, tiny victories over fear. Later, we walked through small routines, homework, snack time, bedtime, showing her she had control over her world in ways she hadn't before. Her eyes brightened slightly as she realized safety wasn't just a word, it was real, and it could exist here, with me. Even with the social worker leaving at the end of the day, I stayed close. "You're safe. I'll always protect you," I whispered. She hugged her toy tighter, then leaned slightly against me, letting herself feel comforted for the first time in a long while. The tension was still there, small but persistent. But I could see hope growing in her posture, in her hesitant smiles, in her tiny exhalations of relief. And that hope was enough to keep moving forward, to stay strong, to continue the fight for her safety and trust. The days that followed were delicate. Every morning I checked the little marks on her arms, noting the bruises that slowly faded and the tension that still lingered in her tiny body. Each small improvement felt monumental, every flicker of relaxation a victory. I started keeping a routine for her, a predictable rhythm that made the house feel safer. Breakfast at the same time, homework together, little walks outside where she could breathe freely without fear. I whispered constantly, "This is your safe space. Nobody can hurt you here." She nodded, sometimes barely, sometimes letting a tiny smile slip. The social worker visited again, this time with a counselor. My niece was hesitant, but I stayed beside her, holding her hand, whispering quietly, "You don't have to be afraid. I'm right here." Slowly, she began to share small fragments of what had happened. Each word was like a weight lifted, and my chest ached with relief and sorrow all at once. Her mother called occasionally, voice hesitant and uneven. I answered firmly, reminding her of her responsibilities. My niece listened from across the room, seeing that someone else finally understood the seriousness. I could see her little eyes studying her mother, measuring the changes, the accountability. Evenings were quiet, but tense. Any creak, any sound outside made her flinch. I stayed close, whispering reassurances, letting her feel the safety she had been denied for so long. Each night, I read to her, let her pick her blanket, tucked her in with care. Trust built slowly in small, steady moments. Days turned into weeks, and my niece started to explore more of her world. She moved around the house without clutching her toy as tightly, started opening drawers, looking at books, even peeking outside the window. Each small action was a victory, a declaration that she could exist safely. One afternoon, she whispered, "Can we go outside?" I smiled softly, taking her hand. "Of course, sweetie. Let's go together." Her little steps were tentative at first, but each one grew bolder, her eyes lifting to watch the world instead of glancing constantly for danger. Even as we played in the yard, small tensions lingered. A car passing too close made her flinch. I knelt immediately beside her. "It's okay, sweetie. Nothing can hurt you here," I whispered. She exhaled slowly, tiny relief washing over her, and then she started to smile. At home, bedtime became a ritual. I read her favorite stories, tucked her in with care, and whispered reassurances until she felt safe enough to sleep. "I'm right here," I said softly. "Always." She whispered back, "I know, I trust you." My chest tightened. That simple sentence carried months of fear, months of pain, and now a fragile bond of safety. Evenings were quieter, but still held moments of suspense. A sudden knock, a door creak, the hum of distant voices, all triggers, all reminders that vigilance was necessary. I stayed close, always ready, always protective. Her tiny flinches became smaller, but I never ignored them. One afternoon, she confided, almost shyly, I don't feel so scared now." My chest ached with pride and relief. "You're brave, so very brave, and I'll always be here for you." She hugged her toy, then me, and for the first time, I could see the beginnings of real trust and healing. Even with the progress, I knew the fight wasn't over. The past couldn't be erased, but together, we were creating a space where fear no longer ruled. Every smile, every sigh of relief, every small act of courage mattered, and I would be there to witness, protect, and nurture each one. Morning light spilled into the room, and my niece was up earlier than usual. She moved quietly, not clutching her toy as tightly. I watched her from the doorway, heart tightening with pride. "Good morning, sweetie," I whispered. She looked up, eyes bright, and whispered back, "Good morning." We made breakfast together, tiny hands carefully stirring, pouring, helping. Her confidence was growing, but every sudden sound made her flinch, reminding me the fear still lingered, buried just beneath the surface. I stayed close, whispering reassurances, letting her know she was safe. Later, she asked if she could help water the plants outside. I smiled, nodding. "Of course, let's do it together." Her steps were cautious at first, but soon she was moving freely, laughing softly at the water spilling slightly over the edge. I felt my chest tighten. Every laugh, every step forward was a victory over months of fear. Even as we played, there were moments of tension. A car honked loudly nearby and she jumped. I grabbed her hand immediately. "It's okay, sweetie. Nobody can hurt you here," I whispered. She exhaled slowly, then smiled faintly, small trust growing again. That evening, bedtime became a ritual of safety and comfort. I read her favorite story, tucked her in gently, whispered, "I'm right here. You're safe. Always." She hugged her toy, then me, and whispered back, "I know. I trust you." My heart ached with relief. That tiny sentence carried so much weight, proof of progress, trust, and hope. Even with these small victories, the past still cast shadows. I knew vigilance was necessary. Any sudden noise, unexpected visitor, or creak could trigger fear. But with every flinch she overcame, every laugh she reclaimed, every small step she took, I felt the tide slowly turning. She was beginning to heal, and I would be there every step of the way. I watched her drift to sleep that night, tiny chest rising and falling evenly, a fragile peace settling over her. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more moments of tension, but also more victories, more trust, and more glimpses of the bright, brave little girl she was becoming. The house was quiet that night, soft shadows stretching across the walls. My niece was asleep, small chest rising and falling evenly. I sat nearby, watching, heart heavy with what she had endured, but full of relief that she was finally safe, even if only for now. I thought about the journey, the bruises, the fear, the hesitant steps toward trust, the tiny victories that had meant everything. I whispered softly, as if she could hear me in her dreams, "You're safe now. I'll always be here." Morning came, and she stirred, eyes blinking sleep away. She looked at me, small smile forming, fragile but real. "I feel safer today," she whispered. My chest tightened. "Yes, sweetie, you are, and I'll make sure it stays that way." Even as the days moved forward, small moments of fear still appeared. A sudden knock, a raised voice somewhere outside. But each time, she faced them a little braver. She laughed more, explored more, and trusted more. And I was there, always, a steady presence, protecting, guiding, loving. Her mother was involved now, watched closely by authorities, slowly taking responsibility. But the power in our hands, the care we gave, the trust she learned to place in someone who truly loved her, was hers to keep. It couldn't be taken away. I looked at her coloring quietly at the table, tiny hands precise and careful, a bright smile on her lips. "You're brave," I whispered, leaning close. "So brave. And I'll always protect you." She looked up, eyes wide with trust. Tiny nod confirming what I already knew. Even with everything improving, a shadow lingered. Uncertainty about the world outside. Questions of what the future held. But for tonight, for this moment, she was safe, loved, and beginning to heal. And that was enough to keep fighting, to keep watching, to keep protecting her, no matter what came next. As I sat there, holding her tiny hand, I realized something powerful. Fear could be replaced with trust, pain could be replaced with hope, and even the smallest gestures, the soft whisper, the steady hand, the gentle presence, could change everything for someone who had known nothing but hurt. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. I didn't know if challenges would rise again, if shadows would return. But I did know one thing. I would fight for her, always. And she knew it too. That tiny understanding, that spark of safety and love, was enough to light the darkest nights ahead.